Hello, and welcome to the What the What podcast. It's the podcast where we tell you what's nerdy, what's popping with culture, what's giving us all the nostalgic feels, and what's there to geek out about, past, present, and future. It's all the what's in one place. That's Eric Creech. I'm Ashby Graham. Kyle Whitley started Ragnarok, and he's sort of dealing with that situation, so he's not here right now.
Yes. Sorry, Kyle. Good luck.
Look, you start it, you deal with it.
That's right.
That's all right. I gotta say.
Yep. Don't do the crime.
Right. If you can't do the time.
You can't do the time. Oh my goodness. So this is actually the first time we've been in studio, like me and you, in about a month.
Yeah.
Like it's great because the last episode you recorded was with Hunter 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And we had some already in place. The community episode, which came out this previous Monday.
Yeah.
A week before.
So good.
So good. Hope you enjoy that. Make sure you check out Return to Beacon Hills.
Please do.
At RTBH Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, and give them some love. They're wonderful people, and
That's right.
we really want to do another crossover with them at some point.
100%. And if you don't know what they're talking about, go watch Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for? It's
What are you
delightful.
waiting
It's
for?
the perfect summer show to binge this year.
Especially episode 11 of that podcast does star one Ashby Brame.
I mean,
So
yeah.
So that's really cool. And I'm just thankful that y'all changed my locks back on my house because, last time...
Well, it turns out Hunter and I looked into it, and legally, you're not allowed to just take over someone's home.
Stupid law.
So, but I don't think there's any legal precedent for taking over someone's podcast because you and Kyle haven't copyrighted this. So,
Oh.
whoops.
Hang on. Let me text Kyle real quick. Put your baby down and go do this now.
Right now.
I will keep Ashby busy for another hour.
That's right.
Yes. So, well, I'm excited that we are back and better than ever. Today, we are very excited to be jumping back into the MCU's Infinity Gauntlet. And before we get into all that, we want to thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to us on podcasting platforms like Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, all of them. Please subscribe to us.
Every single one.
And we will take a 5-star
That'd be great.
review. If you just want to rate and review us,
That's right.
we'll take 5 stars.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Just click the 5-star button.
Or you can say 5 stars, this podcast sucks. We'll take that too.
We'll take that too because...
Just 5 stars.
Just 5 stars. Whatever you want to do. Please also follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. You can find us by searching for What the What Media.
All one
word. And we're also on Twitter at WTW_media. And please share this with your friends if you enjoyed today's episode or one of the other 94 episodes. This is episode 95.
Woo!
We started this podcast almost 2 years ago.
Man.
And here we are.
It's getting real.
It's getting real. So please share this with your friends and check out, one of the things, I think it was Kate or Calissa on last week's episode who had made a comment about how she really loves that we could just talk about whatever our heart desires. There's something in it for everybody.
That's right.
And I believe that's true. When you go into the archives, maybe you're not into the MCU. I'm sorry if you're not, but maybe you're not. We have other superhero properties that we talk about. We have television shows that we talk about. We talk about music a lot.
Cartoons.
Spoiler alert. Cartoons.
Toys.
Childhood memories. I mean, there's just so many things. So maybe this isn't your cup of tea, but I guarantee you there is something in those 94 other episodes that you would enjoy listening to. So please go check it out. On today's episode, we are taking a deep dive into 2017's Thor Ragnarok.
That's right.
Here is your spoiler warning for today's episode. While Thor Ragnarok is our primary focus, we may be discussing any and all things related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, including Marvel television shows, tie-in comics, and any of the other 22 MCU films, taking the entire saga into account. We may also, no spoilers, but we may also discuss a certain Disney Plus television show that dropped this past Wednesday named Loki. But
So excited.
I digress. I don't really know what that means, but I know it's used in that context. So, I know Kate was a big fan of words and correct grammar and stuff last week. So I'm just trying to get that in there. So in case she listens, I'm still keeping up with the correct word placements and stuff.
Indubitably.
Indubitably, yes. That's that's what we were going to go. So this is the place where we're going to offer up a brief recap on what happened in the film. I think I will do that if that's okay. Of course, I've got it pulled up here.
Yes.
But let's jump in. So 2 years after the Battle of Sokovia, Thor is imprisoned by the fire demon Surtur, who reveals that Thor's father Odin is no longer on Asgard. When we left Thor: The Dark World, Odin was there, but it was played by Loki. So anyway, Surtur explains that the realm will soon be destroyed by the prophesized Ragnarok. Once Surtur unites his crown with the eternal flame that burns in Odin's vault, Thor ends up freeing himself. He defeats Surtur, takes his crown, and believing that he has prevented Ragnarok. End of movie, y'all.
Woo woo.
Just kidding. So Thor goes to Asgard. He finds Heimdall gone, and his estranged brother Loki is posing as Odin. He finds this in this wonderful scene where Loki is just taking over, and he has community theater. Matt Damon makes a wonderful cameo, along with a few other actors that you didn't expect to necessarily see in the MCU. But Thor exposes Loki. He forces him to help find their father, and with some help from Dr. Stephen Strange, at the Sanctum Sanctorum in New York City, they locate Odin in Norway. This is notable, by the way, because this is where the same area where the Tesseract was found, where it was stored in Captain America: The First Avenger. Just go ahead and give you the fun facts right now. Odin explains that he's dying. Ragnarok is imminent despite Thor's efforts to prevent it, and his passing, Odin's passing, will free his firstborn child. By the way, he has another child, long lost sister named Hela, played wonderfully by Cate Blanchett. And Hela was the leader of Asgard's army. She conquered the 9 realms with Odin, but Odin imprisoned her and wrote her out of history after fearing that she had become too ambitious and powerful. Odin, Father of the Year, yes or no?
No.
Okay. Odin dies as Thor and Loki look on, and Hela appears, destroying Thor's hammer Mjolnir. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a moment. That's a definite what moment there.
Yeah.
She pursues the two as they attempt to flee through the Bifrost. She forces them out into space, and she arrives in Asgard. She defeats its army. She kills the Warriors 3. R.I.P. for the Warriors 3.
Ugh, so sad.
So sad. And then she resurrects the ancient dead who once fought with her, including her giant wolf, Fenris, just a big, beautiful puppy. And she appoints Scourge as her executioner. And she plans to use the Bifrost to expand Asgard's empire, but Heimdall sneaks in, takes the sword that controls the bridge, and he begins hiding the other Asgardians. Thor crash lands on Sakaar. Sounds like a great planet, right? No, it's a garbage planet, surrounded by wormholes. And a slave trader, designated Scrapper 142, who we will later refer to as Valkyrie, subdues him with an obedience disc and sells him as a gladiator to the Grandmaster, who rules Sakaar. And Loki, who's already there, he's already kind of gotten in good with. Thor recognizes Scrapper 142 as a Valkyrie, one of the legendary force of female warriors who were killed fighting Hela eons ago. Thor is forced to compete in the Grandmaster's Contest of Champions. Sounds like a fun time.
Woo-woo.
Guess who his opponent is? It's a friend from work. The Hulk is on Sakaar. And Thor, it's like, hey, it's me, buddy. And the Hulk's like, nah, I'm going to beat you down. Loki enjoyed that a lot. And Thor summoning the lightning, which is notable because he did not have his hammer, by the way. He's not the god of hammers.
Right.
But the Grandmaster sabotages the fight to ensure that the Hulk remains victorious. So he's still enslaved after the fight. He convinces Hulk and Valkyrie to help him save Asgard, but neither are willing. He soon manages to escape the palace, and he finds the Quinjet that brought the Hulk to Sakaar. Hulk follows Thor to the Quinjet, and while a recording of Natasha Romanoff causes him to transform back into Bruce Banner for the first time in 2 years. The Grandmaster orders Valkyrie and Loki to find Thor and Hulk, but they come to blows, and Loki forces Valkyrie to relive the deaths of her Valkyrie companions at the hands of Hela. So, deciding to help Thor, she takes Loki captive, and unwilling to be left behind, Loki provides the group with the means to steal one of the Grandmaster's ships. We should try Get Help. Get Help.
I hate Get Help.
Help! My brother, he's injured. So, yes. They liberate the other gladiators, who incited by 2 aliens named Korg and Meek, who we have not talked about yet. Korg did not have enough pamphlets. That's why, the uprising did not take place earlier. Ran out of pamphlets.
You get it?
Yep.
You get it? Rock
Rock
was defeated by paper.
But defeated by paper, yes. Yes. Loki again attempts to betray his brother, but Thor anticipates it.
Shocking!
Shocking!
Surprise!
Yes. And leaves him behind where Korg, Meek, and the Gladiators soon find him. Thor, Banner, and Valkyrie escape through a wormhole to Asgard, where Hela's forces are attacking Heimdall and the remaining Asgardians in pursuit of the sword that controls the Bifrost. Banner transformed into Hulk again. Initially, we didn't think it was going to happen. He jumps right out of that ship and face first on the Bifrost there.
And Valkyrie finally realizes where's she seen him before? Why he seems so familiar?
So familiar. Loki and the Gladiators arrive to rescue the citizens. Scourge sacrifices himself to enable their escape. Thor loses his right eye, and then has a vision of Odin that helps him realize that only Ragnarok can stop her. So he sends Loki to retrieve Surtur's crown. And while he was retrieving that crown, he saw an interesting Tesseract just chilling there in the vault. As well as Hela noted, the fake Infinity Gauntlet.
Right, yes. Fake.
Surtur's crown was placed in the Eternal Flame, and he was reborn.
That's right.
And he destroyed Asgard, killing Hela as the refugees flee.
Asgard is not a place, though.
Yes, so it's not a place.
It is a people.
And we're assuming Hela was killed in this.
I mean, fingers crossed.
But this is comic book world, so who knows?
But she bad.
But yeah. Oh, she was so good, though.
She was so good.
Aboard the Grandmaster spaceship, Thor, now king,
yeah,
he reconciles with Loki and decides to take his people to Earth.
Yes.
And in a mid-credit scene, they're intercepted by a large spacecraft.
Yes.
Looks very much like
very large
Thanos' spaceship.
Yeesh.
And then in a post-credit scene, the overthrown Grandmaster is confronted by his former subjects, where he insists on, well, no one loses here. It's a tie. It's a tie. Good job, everybody. Good job. So that is Thor Ragnarok. It came out in 2017, in November of 2017, and it was directed by Taika Waititi. First time he has directed anything in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starring Chris Hemsworth as Thor, alongside Tom Hiddleston, Cate Blanchett, Idris Elba, Jeff Goldblum, Tessa Thompson, Carl Urban, Mark Ruffalo, and Anthony Hopkins.
Carl Urban has been in so many things.
Yes,
but
you don't realize
you don't realize
he's like that guy.
Yes.
Okay. Like,
yes, and you have to like really just look at his IMDb page to be like, what?
Yes.
Like, he's been in so many major franchises.
I'm gonna have to look at this now, but yes.
He's been in Dredd.
He was in Judge Dredd. That's where I know him. Okay, I don't know him from Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. You will. Oh, you will. He's in The Boys. He's in the MCU.
He's in the 2009 Star Trek reboot.
He's McCoy in all the Star Trek movies.
He has a cameo in Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
He's in the Red movies.
He was in 8 episodes of Xena Warrior Princess.
Yes.
And then 2 more as Cupid.
He's in the Riddick movies.
Yeah.
He's in everything. Everything you love.
Wow.
Carl Urban.
Pete's Dragon. Wow.
Boom.
Very nice.
Yeah. Amazing.
Very nice.
Fantastic character actor.
I agree.
And Kiwi. He's from New
Zealand. He's from New Zealand. That's right. Well, this film, as part of Phase 3 of the MCU, it grossed $854 million at the box office, becoming the highest grossing film of the trilogy, 9th highest grossing film of 2017, and there is a sequel, Thor Love and Thunder, scheduled for release next May 6, 2022, also directed by Taika Waititi. So,
I'm ready.
This received praise for its acting and Waititi's direction, as well as the action sequences, humor, and musical score. Many critics considering it to be the best installment of the Thor films. Ashby Brain, what say you? Did you enjoy this film? Is it the best one of the Thor films? What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I'm going to try to, we talked about this earlier. I'm going to try really hard to bring a little bit of Kyle's opinion into this, because he's not here. We have to represent him.
Do we?
And
do we?
I'm going to try, okay? I personally believe that this is the best Thor film. It also, we all know how I feel about the Captain America series, but this particular movie really rates up there for me of like favorite ever MCU installments. I really walked in expecting sort of what we had, like, maybe based on the trailer, you could tell it was going to be different. But I was still thinking maybe we were going to get a little bit more colorful, a little bit more humorous version of what we had seen in Thor and in Thor: The Dark World. And that's not what we got at all.
Right.
This had more of like almost like if you had taken the Avengers and mixed it with Guardians of the Galaxy. Like it had that special feel to it. And I was just super impressed. I was super impressed by the color and the characters and the humor and, you know, how the character arcs were treated and the relationships. And I really love everything about this movie. But I've talked to a few people, Kyle included, since then, who did not like the direction that Taika Waititi took the Thor franchise in. They expected Thor to continue to have the same sort of serious gravitas that he has in his movies, and then also to a certain extent throughout the Avenger movies, where Thor is kind of like the strong silent dude, and you know, he definitely shows up to be the muscle, right? Like he's the god of the Avengers. He's got the brawn and he's got the lightning and he's got the hammer, and that's sort of all he ever is in the other movies, you know?
Yeah.
He's not humanized as much. He's not allowed to be funny. And so I can understand why if you like that version of Thor, then this movie was departed from that in a big way. And maybe some fans didn't like it as much. But I did.
And let me address, you know, some of that. Like, I guess if you were expecting the Thor from the first two movies, then I guess I can understand why maybe you did not enjoy this direction. But I will say that the first two Thor movies rank in the bottom, definitely the bottom half, maybe the bottom fourth. Like, of the 23 MCU films, I know Dark World is probably the worst on my list, and Thor's like number 19.
Right.
So, suffice it to say, like, that version of Thor didn't click for me.
Right.
Like, it was dark, it was brooding, it was just not entertaining. It was kind of boring at parts. This version of Thor, and under the direction of Taika Waititi, Asgard is shown to be more vibrant, more colorful. It pops on screen. There's more humor, which I appreciate, because, you know, if I wanted like dark and brooding, I'd go watch a DC film. I mean, I hate to say it that way.
Exactly.
But like for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I don't mind that everyone has a little bit of humor, because I'm looking to be entertained.
Right.
And for me, that's entertaining to me. It might not be entertaining for you, but it's entertaining for me.
Right.
And so this Thor film is a top 10 MCU film for me. Might even be a top 5. It's up there. Which is something I never thought I'd say about a Thor movie before watching it. But no, it's fantastic. It does a great job of really making you feel for a character who has up until this point been presented as pretty much unstoppable in Thor, where, you know, he's literally a god in this universe, but there's actual stakes involved. The story, you think the story is saving Asgard. No, the story is realizing that Asgard, as you said earlier, is not a place.
Right.
And that sometimes you got to let go and start anew somewhere. I thought it did a really wonderful job of, you know, just really cementing Chris Hemsworth as a great actor in this, in the MCU with that character. Not only with the serious moments, but with his humor too. Loki is at his best in this movie, I feel like, and I guess until we see the Loki television series.
Right.
But I feel like he is at his absolute best here, as finally as we'll see in the continued arc of his character in Avengers Infinity War, finally not as a villain, but as a hero kind of in his own right, where he has presented the opportunity to finally...
Like a Byronic hero.
Yes.
Like an anti-hero.
Yeah, like an anti-hero, absolutely.
Yeah. And I also think that, like, as a bridge, you know, this the Loki television show does not exist without this movie.
No, it doesn't. 100% it does not.
Yeah.
And early reviews of that television show are very promising, by the way.
Super positive. I'm so excited.
I know Screen Rant earlier on Twitter has been posting a bunch of reviews of the first 2 episodes.
Yes.
And they are nothing but glowing.
Yeah.
And they say not only does Tom Hiddleston just knock it out of the park as usual, but they said Owen Wilson is perfect in his role as Mobius M. Mobius.
Nice.
So.
Nice.
But anyway, but yeah, that series doesn't start or even come close without his role here. And I loved the addition of new characters. I loved Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie. Jeff Goldblum did a fantastic job as the Grand Master.
He did.
Taika Waititi himself as Korg.
Yep.
Just really brilliant humor.
Piss off, Ghost.
Yes. And I like, how your OG Avengers, you've got Steve and Tony, who are intertwined, not necessarily best friends, but they're intertwined, just based on who they are as their characters. They're they're just intertwined.
I'll allow it.
Of the OG
sure
6 Avengers,
yes.
They're intertwined.
Yes.
Black Widow and Hawkeye intertwined.
Right. 100%.
Through here.
Yes.
So you get a pairing here with Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner / Hulk.
Yes.
And Thor that they're not really that connected in the story or like in the overall narrative until this film. They work together. He's a friend from work.
Right.
They fight together, but they're not really besties.
Right.
And I loved the idea that, we're going to put these 2 together.
Right.
It brings Hulk back into the MCU after a 2-year hiatus in a believable manner, too.
And they do, as the movie goes on, you're like, this actually really works.
It does. It absolutely
really
does.
Works.
Both when he's dealing with both Hulk and with Banner.
Yes.
It really works.
And the Tumblr, fanish part of me really likes that Taika seems to understand that out of all the Avengers, Thor would be the one, I think, that would connect to both Banner and Bruce.
Yes.
Bruce and Hulk.
Yes.
And I love that Chris Hemsworth does such a good job with and Mark Ruffalo with their banter and stuff. And so he's really great at interacting with Hulk. But then he also, it's clear that he really appreciates Hulk's, brawn and stuff. But he tries to make Banner also feel appreciated,
Right.
And so, Mark Ruffalo, there's a scene where Banner's Banner's powerful and useful too. And he's like,
is he though?
And then he tries to he's like, just stay calm, okay? The sun's going down. The sun's getting really low.
Sun's going
down. He's
guy.
trying to do the lullaby.
Sun's getting real low, big guy.
Oh my goodness. And I just really love the interplay here between Thor and both sides of Bruce.
Yes, he does a really good job of differentiating how he interacts with both of his alter egos. And I love but Hulk and Banner both had a line about how, you don't need me. And he's like, of course, I like you better than the other guy. And Hulk was like, you like Banner more. Hulk friend. He's like, of course not. No, I hate that other guy. I love you. You're fantastic.
Yes.
Just that interaction's great. I thought that Tessa Thompson brought a really good energy in her role as a drunk former Valkyrie.
Yes.
And I'm excited to see her expansion into the existing universe in Thor: Love and Thunder. But it was really good to see her in Endgame after not knowing her fate in Infinity War.
Right.
Thank you. Russo brothers for just leaving some characters in the dark there.
Right.
But I understand it's you don't want the film to be 5 hours long. I get it. But yeah, overall, just everything just really works. I know we didn't have Natalie Portman's Dr. Jane Foster in this one, and I know there might have been some criticism about it, but she just didn't fit in this film. This was not an Earth-based film. They were on Earth for 20 minutes.
Well, and they had a little throwaway line about, I'm sorry, Jane broke up with you or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, it was mutual.
It was mutual, yes. Yes, it was mutual, yes. And there's some theories around that too, because she does return in Thor: Love and Thunder. It's been announced.
I'll be interested to see how they're going to do that.
How they're going to they've announced that she will take her place as she did in the comics as the Mighty Thor. And in the comics, spoiler alert for that, but in the comics, she is diagnosed with cancer. And so but when she takes the hammer, Mjolnir, she transforms into the Mighty Thor, saving her life. But also, when she transforms back into herself, then it kills her. She's dying. So there's some theories going around that she broke up with Thor because she was diagnosed with cancer, and she didn't want him to have to
deal with that.
Right. So and Thor has had a lot to deal with over the years, losing his mom, losing his dad, losing his brother.
Right.
Having to kill
Multiple
his sister
times.
as he talks about in Infinity War. It's like, so what else is there to lose? I mean,
right. Yeah.
So that'll be really interesting. But she wasn't in this film, which, like I said, doesn't really fit with this film necessarily because, again, not an Earth-based film. I do hate that we did not get any Darcy Lewis in this film, though.
Ugh, I know.
But
I really want Darcy and Loki to meet.
Yes.
Like, ultimate, chaotic, good.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. One more thing I want to talk about with the direction of this film, the music selection. And I think that's something that really invigorated this movie and this franchise. We've talked about multiple times how a good movie soundtrack can really make a film. Like if it's really integrated into the film.
Right.
Not just the score, but an actual sound.
Think about what AC/DC did for the Iron Man movies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we talked in depth with Guardians of the Galaxy how pivotal all those songs were to the film and to the character of Peter Quill and Star-Lord.
Yes.
But Taika Waititi's use of Led Zeppelin's Immigration Song here, just chef's kiss.
Yes. And I think I couldn't find, this might be a rumor I read somewhere because I couldn't find any information on it, but apparently Taika argued the use of that song and how integral it was because Marvel had to pay millions of dollars to use that one song, which is why it's used twice in the film. But I just thought that was really interesting.
The best use of that song since Jack Black used it in School of Rock.
Yes.
By far.
Yeah.
So, yes.
100%.
Do you have any favorite quotes?
I'm glad you asked. So many.
I have a few myself.
So many. She goes, when Valkyrie goes, I can see your face. And he goes, not when I do this, you can't. And he just pulls the thing over his face.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. And then it's not really a quote necessarily, but the scene where Loki as Odin is making the Asgardians replay Loki's death like over and over and over again. And it gets to the point where fake Thor, Loki dies in his arms and he's like, no! And it pans to Thor watching it in the crowd. And this Asgardian lady is like crying and she's got a tissue. And he's just like, what? Like his face is just like, what is happening? And I just really love that scene because there's a fan theory that, the Asgardians like aren't stupid. Like they're very intelligent people as a race, And so the idea that Odin would suddenly demand a play and a statue of Loki, like they have to know on some level, even if it's subconscious, that they've been being ruled by Loki for the last few years or whatever.
Yes.
But what's hilarious about that is like all of them seem pretty okay with it.
Yeah, they're getting community theater now.
Right. And so like it's just funny to me that like Asgard seems to honestly be at like its peak wellness with Odin and Thor gone and Loki, and honestly I think it's because of all of the people in his family, even though they're not his blood relatives, which he struggles with, that Loki is like, I think he's most like Frigga. Yeah. And that, I think that's what Asgard would have looked like under her rule. You know, she was a great queen. She was clearly very benevolent. She cared about the people. And I just think it's just interesting that, you know, Loki is actually a really good ruler.
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, I really love that scene.
I mean, I'll just go ahead and make this comment here. Asgard wasn't destroyed when Loki was in charge.
Exactly.
Just saying.
That's what I'm saying. You know?
Just saying. So, like, one of my favorite moments just of humor in this movie is whenever Thor finds the Quinjet and he's trying to access it. And the computer asks for Thor's voice activation. He's like, Thor, God of Thunder, access denied. Strongest Avenger, access denied. Strongest Avenger. And none of them work. And then so he finally realized, like, dang it, Stark. Point Break. Welcome, Thor. And then later,
Point Break.
Whenever Banner goes in, it's like, they ask for voice activation, and they're like, Dr. Bruce Banner, and they're like, welcome, Strongest Avenger. And he's like, ugh.
Yeah. Yes. 100%.
Love it, love it, love it. A great quote from me is whenever I guess Thor's having like his like little like he's fighting Hela, and he's having this moment where Odin shows up where Odin died, and he's like, I don't have my hammer, and he's like, I'm sorry, are you Thor, the god of hammers?
Right. Yes.
And it's like, and that which gives him the kind of the inspiration to kind of access his lightning or whatever. But just that line, are you the god of hammers?
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, he's a friend from work is just, to me, like just the best line in the whole movie. Just fantastic. And great, you know, again, another fun fact about that line, it was suggested by a kid who was being visited by Chris Hemsworth as part of the Make-A-Wish program. And he's the kid suggested, you know, you should call Hulk a friend from work, you know, and they're like, oh, that's perfect for
yeah.
You know, that would be perfect for this. And you know, I don't know what ever happened to that kid. I hope that kid's still healthy and everything, but just to know that he put in my opinion, the best line in that movie.
Yes.
Gotta be.
Friend from work.
That's gotta be, yes, fantastic.
I like at the very end where they're all in the spaceship and they're watching Asgard like burn basically. And Korg is like, you know, the damage is not too bad as long as the foundations are still strong. We can rebuild this place. And he's like, it'll become a haven for all peoples and aliens in the universe. And then it literally explodes into like 1,000 million billion smithereens. Yes. And he's like, no, those foundations are gone. Sorry.
Korg's just hilarious. I love, like,
so
they killed Meek. He's like, oh no, Meek's he's alive actually.
Yeah.
He's actually alive. Okay, he was just asleep. I mean,
oh my goodness. Yes.
Oh, this is a really fun, just quotable movie. It would be impossible. Do you have any last ones? I know you're going through the Tumblr right now.
I know. I'm just looking on Tumblr because I'm glad
you're able to. My computer is not doing it.
It reminds me, like, it's really good at reminding me, like, okay, this is, you know, like I can think, oh yeah, that scene. I think that's all for like quotes. I mean, I think Hela has some pretty good quotes. I can't really remember them.
She does make a comment about how she's the goddess of death.
Yes.
And like just very well delivered. When she's going through Odin's vault and, you know, all of the treasures, and she's just criticizing them, and she comes upon the Infinity Gauntlet. And this was people thought it was a plot hole. And
right.
It probably was a plot hole, let's be real.
Right.
Like, well, how does Odin have the Infinity Gauntlet whenever, you know, Thanos has one, and you know, he's getting one Thor's or whatever, and she just walks up to him and knocks over, fake. And it's just a hilarious way to address that.
Yes.
She did such a fantastic job in that role. And I really hope we find a way to get her back into the MCU at some point, because it's a shame, like, all of their best villains over the past couple of years, we'll talk about Michael B. Jordan's Eric Stevens, a.k.a. Killmonger, next month with Black Panther. They're one and dones.
Yeah.
But they do such a good job, so I'm hoping there's ways to get them back in the fold.
Yeah.
That's the problem with a good villain. You don't want them really dead, you know, but their story exists for the most part for them to be a foil for the hero, than for them to go away. Right. Because they're not the hero of the story. And, that's why I'm glad we have Loki, Thanos, honestly, Michael Keaton's Vulture, who's going to be making a comeback at some point. Yeah. I'm glad they can get multiple movie runs. So.
Look, honestly, like, hot take for this movie, the real villain is Odin.
Yes.
You know? Like,
absolutely.
I think this movie has some really good, like, what moments. Like, we talk about what moments. But Loki has always struggled with Odin's choices and what that meant for Loki. And I think that as these movies progress, you start really seeing that other side of Odin and how he's actually really not the greatest leader or the greatest father. And you start kind of seeing like what Loki must see, like that he lies, and he's sort of like this conqueror that like hung up his sword and his helmet and all that stuff, but like at the end of the day he still wasn't always this like beneficent old ruler or whatever. And from the moment that Odin basically just yeets himself out of existence and leaves his kids to clean up his mess, you start really thinking like, okay, so like maybe he's not like a great guy. And then the what moment in this movie for me is when Hela is going through the castle on Asgard, like the palace, and she destroys that fresco on the ceiling.
Yes. And
you realize the kind of like awful violent history that built the 9 realms. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. So like he's like for real not a good guy.
Yes.
And that is just so interesting to me.
It's the same energy we have when we have a Christopher Columbus Day.
Yes.
Okay, like it's hiding the atrocities that built this country.
Correct.
We don't like to think about it because we want to think that we've always been a good people, but truth is, in the history of mankind has been an awful, evil entity and has done nothing but destroy and take from others.
Right, yeah.
So that's the kind of vibe I get when I see like, oh.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like you have to, but the thing about growing as people and growing, learning how to reconcile with that and how to, you have to face that. You have to face that reality.
Asgard is basically like the British Empire.
Basically.
It's like you want to think of them as this like beautiful United Kingdom when really we now know like that's classic imperialism.
Yep. 100%.
100%.
100% even.
So, anywho, yes, Hela is technically the villain in this, and she is an excellent villain, but honestly, like, Odin's the real OG villain in all of this.
Nice. Very nice. I think it's a theme that we kind of see across the MCU when it comes to, Disney animated features. That's usually like dealing with like the loss of your mother for the most part. Mm-hmm. MCU films are the loss of your father, or the sins of your father coming back to haunt you or revisit you. We see it with Tony Stark, and him just trying to deal with the legacy of Howard Stark, and we see it with Peter Quill, finding out who his father is and learning that his father not necessarily someone who should have been desired as a father. We see it here with Odin. I think the thing that if you're going to take a lesson from it, that, just in general, that there is no perfect person to really look up to, that is like in your life necessarily. Like we tend to romanticize or to give gravitas to the people who raised us or the people but they're human too. Well, when I say they're human too, I mean, Odin clearly not human, but in a sense, he's human too, like I know he's an Asgardian and that makes no sense, but he is fallible. Mm-hmm. He is going to make mistakes. He is not, in general, just not someone to romanticize as, the greatest or whatever. Right. And I think that's true of most people. I've made the comment before, if you're around someone long enough, they're going to disappoint you at some point. Mm-hmm. You need to go ahead and accept that now. And I think the lessons we see in these Marvel movies is just reinforcing that. Like, hey, everyone's just there's no perfect. Right. Everyone's just trying to figure it out as we go, because that's life.
Yeah,
we're trying to figure out life as we're going. There's no perfect template for life. We're just trying to figure it out.
In the very beginning, when who's he fighting in the very beginning? Surtur. It's like, you've made a grave mistake, Odin's son. And he goes, I make grave mistakes all the time. Everything seems to work out.
Yeah.
I make grave mistakes all the time.
That's my quote for the summer. I make grave mistakes all the time.
All the time.
All the time. Do you have any questions left unanswered? I would love to see a prequel film of Hela and Odin.
Yes.
Just how that ended up working out. And the only problem with that is you'd have to position Odin as the hero there because Hela would have to be locked up and then there'd be a reason behind it. That's how most films work.
Right.
But I would love to see something like that. I'm interested to know, like, Stephen Strange, like, how much connection does he have beyond Earth? I know he has, like, he's fighting the other dimensions or whatever, but, how deep is his connection with the, quote, 9 realms or whatever? And, like, how much does he know about? How much is he keeping an eye on type thing? Like, and we might get more of that in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness next year.
Right.
But yeah, that's something that I'd, just kind of thought of. What is your, do you have anything else you want to add before we get to the what moment?
So my only sort of like random, I guess, unanswered question, I would love to know more about the Valkyries. I mean, I guess we're led to believe that Valkyrie is the only living Valkyrie. Like, the rest of them were killed by Hela, like, trying to defeat her. But wouldn't it be cool if you could make more Valkyries? Like, how does one become a Valkyrie?
Yes. So, like a little prequel to the Valkyrie.
Yes. And then crossover Valkyries, Doja My Wars.
Ooh. That could be fun.
Boom. Just like
that could be fun.
Bad ladies.
I like that.
Doing good things.
I like that a lot.
Just kicking butts.
All the butts. Yes. All the butts.
Yes.
Cool. What was your what moment?
I've already said my moment. It was the fresco.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, it was Thor throws the hammer. She catches it.
Yes.
And it explodes.
Yes. You're like, what? No, that can't.
No.
That's not right.
She's not worthy. She can't pick that up.
That can't happen.
How does this work? And then I guess the secondary one would be the start of the immigrant song at the climax of the
battle.
movie. Yes.
Yeah, 100%. When Loki's like throwing his daggers and he flips his hair. And,
yes.
My breath catches in my throat.
Absolutely.
Is that just me? Sorry.
Yes. It is just you, but okay. Who won the movie?
Okay. I think it would be a tie for me.
So the Grandmaster.
Yes.
Jeff Goldblum won the movie. Jeff Goldblum is always a win. Let's go ahead and certify that. But
I mean, honestly, it's a tie for me between Loki and Valkyrie.
Okay.
Because Loki comes out of this movie a hero. I think he also decides in this movie who he's going to be and where he's going to stand and what he's going to use his powers for, for good.
Right.
And I think he and Thor's brother relationship is solidified in this movie in a really beautiful way that makes me sad for what's to come. And I'm really interested to see, with Loki having a TV show and then Love and Thunder, how and if we're going to see these characters interact again.
Yes.
But then Valkyrie goes from being this, like demons in the closet, alcoholic, literal kind of like trash person who's in a dump selling people to buy booze, if you sort of like distill her character down, because of all the awful, terrible things she's had to do and deal with in her past. If you think of the Valkyries as like a military unit, then she basically went to war and was the only one that lived. And so like that's gotta be super heavy.
Absolutely.
And so the fact that she kind of through this movie crawls out the other side of that, and then has, we know that, spoiler alert, she actually is eventually going to be ruling Asgard. Like, how beautiful that is for her. Mm-hmm. I just think that she and Loki, I think, have the best character arcs in this movie.
I would agree with that. I'm going to go outside the box a little bit and say that Taika Waititi won this movie.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
Outside of the fictionalized, movie parts.
This put him on the map.
This put him on the map.
For sure.
And by way of Taika Waititi, Thor also won this movie because he's going to be the first character to get a fourth movie in the franchise. This revitalized the character. This made the character way, way more popular than it was. And because of that, he's the only OG Avenger left, really. I mean, I know Black Widow's getting her own movie, but she's dead. Spoiler alert. Hawkeye's getting his own TV show, but I think that's going to be his last run.
I don't want to talk about it.
And Thor potentially could be a cornerstone for the MCU and the Avengers moving forward for many more years based off the success of this movie. So Taika Waititi and Thor, co-winners in my opinion.
Yes.
So we're going to skip our Teach Us What You Need to Know section. I did have a little thing on the Valkyrie in the comics, but we've basically kind of talked about, how it plays into the MCU. Odin sent the Valkyrie to prevent Hela from escaping, but Hela killed every one of them except for the one who's remaining. Mm-hmm. So there's what you need to know about the Valkyrie. But we're going to jump into some fun facts. Fun facts, and I've been out of this. Yeah, just your fun facts and trivia or whatever. Let's do two each. There's only two of us here, so we'll leave the other two facts out there in the universe unknown. The Soul Stone could be somewhere. We don't know. Don't know that it exists. So.
Right.
Kyle has the Soul Stone and the Time Stone. So,
Kyle's,
So we'll just do the other four facts of the Infinity Gauntlet here. I'll start. So Jamie Alexander, who played Lady Sif, does not show up in Thor Ragnarok. There's a good reason. She did play a key role in 2011's Thor and 2013's Thor: The Dark World. Mm-hmm. She also appeared in the first two seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep.
But she had a commitment to the NBC drama series Blind Spot, which prevented her from appearing in this sequel. So it was decided that the character would be written out rather than recast. And the explanation given was Lady Sif was off on a mission elsewhere during the film.
Gotcha.
And Kevin Feige suggested it might play to Sif's advantage that she wasn't around as she lives another day while the Warriors 3 ends up meeting their demise. Is Jamie Alexander going to appear in Love and Thunder, do we think?
I would love for that.
I hope she does.
We could get like Lady Thor, Valkyrie, and Sif just like killing it.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
So there's my first fact.
So, apparently in an interview with MTV News, director Taika Waititi said, I would say we improvised probably 80% of the film. Or like ad-libbed and threw in stuff, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah, I mean, so that's pretty much how this podcast happens nowadays. It's just 80% improvised. It's very tough. I'm very impressed that such a great movie was 80% just, we'll just make it up as we go around.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
And also, honestly, like probably better for it.
Honestly, yes, I would agree with that. So my last fun fact is that Taika Waititi wanted to include John C. Reilly in Thor Ragnarok. John C. Reilly, who played Day from Guardians of the Galaxy in the first Guardians movie. He wanted to make a point of including him as part of featuring characters crossing over from a variety of in-house movies within the expansive landscape. It was reported by Slash Film that Waititi said Guardians of the Galaxy was his favorite MCU movie leading up to his own, and he wanted to include Reilly in his own movie, but he ultimately found no way to include him, unfortunately. And it's a shame, maybe because, they probably would work wonders together. Maybe in another movie down the road. Maybe he survived that attack on Xandar in Infinity War. I mean, who knows? I want to see it, personally.
Yeah. So this film marks the first time in the MCU that the Incredible Hulk was not voiced by Lou Ferrigno, but by Mark Ruffalo. Oh, wow. So Ferrigno, who played the Hulk in the television series, actually voiced the Hulk, which we don't get to hear the Hulk verbalize a lot of things in the other movies, to be fair.
Puny God.
Right, So he was the voice for the Hulk in The Incredible Hulk in 2008, The Avengers in 12, and Age of Ultron in 15. So this was the first time that Mark Ruffalo was playing Banner and also voicing the Hulk.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us. Do you have anything that you want to add about Thor Ragnarok?
I don't think so.
It's a fantastic movie.
Incredible film.
Go check it out on Disney Plus. We want to give a big thank you to Ricky Lyles and our good friend Kyle Whitley. We hope he'll be joining us soon after the birth of baby Sky. Hope she's doing well as well. Hope she's doing well as well. But we want to thank them for their contributions to our podcast. We hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as we did. That you're as pumped for the rest of this journey into the MCU films and other pop culture entities as well. Next month for the MCU's Run of the Infinity Gauntlet, we're going to dive into Black Panther.
Can't wait.
Which I cannot wait. It's one of my top 2 MCU movies. I cannot wait for us to talk about that film. Next week on this podcast, we're going to do a sequel episode. 2 years ago, me and Kyle did summer music. Me and Ashby are going to do summer music too.
Summer breeze makes me feel fine.
Yes.
Blowing in the jasmine in my mind. That's not even one of my picks.
Wow. So make sure you join us for that episode next week. Until next time, we're not the god of podcast, are we? Stay as cool as the other side of the pillow. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. What the what?